Today, we're diving into a story that asks a really big question. How do you repay a debt that's literally unpayable? It's a story all about a mother's incredible sacrifice, her son's amazing success, and the huge lesson that, in the end, the thing that matters most isn't money, it's time. And this idea right here, this is really the heart of the whole story we're about to get into. It's the starting point for this incredible journey of sacrifice and a huge lesson about what's really, truly important. So, let's dive in. Our story starts in a small, quiet village. This is where we first meet Mira and her young son Arjun. And it's here that a promise was made that would change everything. And this slide, wow, it just paints such a clear picture of their life. I mean, look at this. Their home? Just a single room, a broken window, a clay stove. But their life? That was a totally different story. It was just overflowing with the kinds of things money can't buy. You know? Warmth, love, and so much laughter. So after she was widowed when Arjun was only 5, Mira made this powerful vow to herself. She was going to give him a better life, no matter what it took. And her days, wow, they were just filled with this back-breaking labor. Washing clothes, cleaning homes, carrying heavy baskets. But you know what? At the end of it all, just seeing her son sleeping peacefully, that was enough to make all that pain and exhaustion just melt away. And this was the one thing she told him, over and over again. For her, this wasn't just some nice thought. It was her mission. And for him, it became the guiding star for his whole life. All right, so this brings us to the next part of the story. Now we're going to see how Arjun grows up, and we'll start to understand the true price of his mother's dream and the incredible journey it put him on. You can really see his whole journey laid out here. Every single step he took was basically powered by his mother's hard work. He's studying by an oil lamp, then he gets this amazing scholarship. But the real turning point, the moment that changed everything, it was when Mira sold her wedding bangles, literally the last thing she had of her husband, just so he could go to the city. And as she's giving him the money, this is what she says. I mean, think about that. For her, it wasn't a loss at all. It was an investment. She was literally trading her past for his future, calling her most precious memory his wings to fly. But here's where the story takes a turn. Arjun gets everything his mother ever dreamed for him, but that success, it came with a cost nobody saw coming. In this slide, this is what I find so interesting because it shows you the two different worlds they were living in. Arjun's life was all meetings, targets, deadlines, while his mother's life, it was just waiting, hoping, longing for his call. And his calls got shorter and shorter, even as she'd tell him, "Oh, just hearing your voice is enough." Okay, so this is where things get really intense. That slow drift we just saw is about to crash head-on into a heartbreaking reality. This is that moment of reckoning. You know, this distance didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was a slow, creeping thing. The kind that's so easy to brush off with, "I'm just so busy right now." And before you know it, months have quietly slipped into years. And that gap just gets wider with every call he doesn't make, every visit he puts off. And it all comes down to this, right? He built this incredible life that his mother wanted for him, but at what cost? What was the real price he paid for all that success? And then, the phone rings, a neighbor, and a single sentence changes absolutely everything. His mother is seriously ill. And just like that, his entire world comes crushing down, forcing him to face all those years of distance in one single brutal moment. So Arjun is racing back home, frantic, and he's about to get one last incredibly profound gift from his mother. It's a conversation that's going to completely change how he sees everything he's worked for. So he's there, kneeling by her bed, and it's like the full weight of all his choices just comes crashing down on him. And in this moment of just devastating honesty, he admits his biggest regret. He was so focused on giving her things that he forgot to give her the one thing she really wanted, his time. But Mira, in her final moments, she gives him the most incredible gift, grace. She just lifts that massive burden of guilt right off his shoulders. She tells him that his happiness, his success, that was the only payment she ever wanted. It's just this moment of pure, unconditional love. And soon after, she passed away. But not in sorrow. She was peaceful. She left this world with a smile, fulfilled, knowing her son was successful, and in her eyes, truly happy. So where do you go from there? How do you move on after a realization like that? Well, this final part of the story shows us how Arjun transformed all that grief into a legacy that truly honors his mother's love. So he's sitting there in that small, quiet, empty house, and it finally clicks. The truth hits him. The debt he felt he owed her, it was never about money. It was a debt of love, and you can't pay that back with a check. So he makes a choice. He takes all his savings, and instead of buying a big, fancy house for himself, he rebuilds the village school, and he names it the Mira Foundation, creating this living, breathing tribute that would help fulfill the dreams of so many other mothers just like her. And look, this wasn't just about writing a check and walking away. For Arjun, repaying that debt became his life's work. Every single year on her birthday, he goes back to her grave. He doesn't just leave flowers, he sits there for hours, and he talks to her. He tells her about his life, about the school, and he makes that same promise again and again. Your love will live through everything I do. And in the end, I think this is the lesson for all of us in Arjun's story. It doesn't matter how successful we become, the greatest gift we can ever give our parents is our love, our respect, and our time. That's the only currency that really matters. The story seems to tell us the answer isn't about grand gestures or big paychecks. It's about being there. It's about love, respect, and presence, day in and day out. Which leaves us with a question to think about in our own lives. How do you repay the unrepayable? And maybe more importantly, how do we honor that love while we still have the chance?